The screens showed the same nightmare on every channel. Whole planets turned gray and lifeless. Cities that once held billions now sat empty, stripped down to bare rock. The Ravager swarm moved through space like a plague, and nothing could stop them. Lyra watched the footage with her wings pressed tight against her body. She belonged to the winged folk, a species that had never known war until 6 months ago. Her people built towers that reached the clouds and sang songs that could make stones weep. Now half their worlds were gone, consumed by creatures that saw all other life as food. The council chamber was enormous, built to hold representatives from 200 species. Today it felt cramped and suffocating. Every delegate knew why they were here. The gentle collective was dying, and they needed help that no one wanted to give. The armored Dominion must have ships to spare, Lyra said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. Your empire spans 3,000 systems. The armored delegate was covered in natural plating that gleamed under the lights. He shook his massive head slowly. Our fleets guard trade routes. We cannot abandon them. The economic collapse would affect everyone here. Then the crystal hierarchy. Lyra turned to the representative whose body seemed carved from living gemstone. Your weapons are the most advanced in known space. We do not risk our people in foreign wars, came the cold response. We have provided you with defensive technology. That must suffice. Lyra felt her wings droop. She had heard the same answer from every major power. The Tide Empire had sealed its borders completely. The Forest Communion offered prayers but no ships. The Sand Collective sent medical supplies and sympathy. No one would fight. High Counselor Ven watched from his elevated seat. His species, the Tall Ones, had founded the Council 4,000 years ago. They were diplomats and peacekeepers, not warriors. He had lived for 3 centuries and never seen anything like the Ravagers. They did not want territory or resources. They simply consumed everything living and moved on. Communication was impossible. Negotiation meant nothing to creatures that viewed all other species as prey. Perhaps, Ven said quietly, we must consider alternatives we have previously dismissed. Archivist Palo shuffled forward. He was old even by the standards of his long-lived people. His body was stooped, his skin marked with age spots, but his eyes were sharp. He carried a data tablet that looked ancient compared to modern technology. There is one species we have not contacted, Palo said. His voice carried across the silent chamber. A young race. They achieved faster than light travel only recently. We detected their presence 2 centuries ago and classified them as high risk. High risk? Another delegate spoke up. What does that mean? Palo activated the tablet. A hologram appeared, showing a blue and green world orbiting a yellow star. This is their home. Our first survey team nearly died studying it. The planet is classified as a Class 12 death world. Nervous sounds filled the chamber. Death worlds were rare. Most intelligent life evolved on gentle planets with light gravity, stable climates, and abundant resources. Death worlds were the opposite. Everything there tried to kill you. The gravity is 3 times our standard, Palo continued. The atmosphere contains corrosive oxygen at dangerous levels. Temperature swings are extreme. The native life forms include massive predators. The dominant species evolved from pack hunters. He paused. They call themselves humans. Absolutely not, the armored delegate said immediately. Deathworld species are unstable, aggressive, they cannot be trusted. We are dying, Lyra said. Her voice cut through the protests. My people are dying. Our children are dying. I do not care if these humans are dangerous. The Ravagers are worse. Ben looked at the hologram for a long moment. What makes you think they would help us, Archivist? Why would a young species risk themselves for strangers? Pilo smiled, and it was not a comforting expression. Because I have been monitoring their radio transmissions, their entertainment broadcasts, their historical records. He pulled up more data. They tell stories about helping others. They have a word hero that they use constantly. They send aid to regions they have never visited. They rush into danger to save people they do not know. He looked around the chamber. I believe it is instinct. Something in their evolution. They cannot help themselves. Or, the crystal hierarchy delegate said coldly, they will see us as weak and conquer us themselves. Perhaps, Palo admitted, but the Ravagers will definitely kill us. I would rather take an uncertain risk than accept certain death. The debate lasted for hours. In the end, fear won over caution. The council voted to send a distress signal to human space. Lyra wondered if they were making a terrible mistake. She had seen the data on human history. They fought wars constantly. They had nearly destroyed themselves with nuclear weapons. Their own planet tried to kill them regularly with storms and earthquakes and diseases, and they just kept surviving. What kind of species thrived in conditions that would kill anyone else? The signal was sent. Deep space relays pushed it toward the small corner of the galaxy humans occupied. Now there was nothing to do but wait and hope that the cure was not worse than the disease. Lyra returned to her quarters and looked at images of her home world. It was still free, still green and beautiful. Her family was down there, trusting that she would find a way to save them. She had gambled everything on the idea that humans would help. She just hoped they would arrive in time, and that they would be the allies the gentle collective needed, not another threat to fear. Outside the window, stars burned in the darkness. Somewhere out there, humans were receiving their message. Soon, everyone would learn what Deathworld predators could do when someone asked for their help. The signal arrived during a routine patrol. Rita Okonkwo was reviewing supply manifests when her communications officer nearly fell out of his chair. "Captain, you need to hear this." Rita had commanded the survey vessel Pioneer's Hope for 5 years. They mapped systems, studied anomalies, and occasionally rescued mining crews from bad decisions. Nothing exciting. Nothing like the message now playing through the bridge speakers. It was not in any human language. The words sounded like wind chimes mixed with bird calls. But the computer had analyzed it and provided a translation that made Rita's blood run cold. "This is Ambassador Lyra of the Gentle Collective to any species receiving this transmission. We are under attack by an enemy we cannot defeat. Billions have already died. If you can hear this message, please help us, please. We do not want to die alone." The bridge was silent. Rita played the message 3 more times, checking for errors or hoaxes. The computer confirmed it was genuine. The signal had come from deep space, far beyond any known human colony. Someone else was out there, someone who needed help. "Get me Earth Command," Rita said. "Priority Alpha. Tell them we just received first contact, and it's not a friendly greeting." The response took 6 hours. Rita spent that time analyzing the signal's origin point and calculating travel times. When Admiral Brenner's face finally appeared on her screen, he looked like he had not slept. "Explain this to me again," Brenner said. Slowly. Rita had worked with the Admiral before. He was careful, methodical, and deeply paranoid about threats to humanity. She chose her words with precision. "We received a distress call from an unknown species. They're being attacked by something called the Ravager Swarm. Based on the signal strength and distance, their civilization is massive. Hundreds of systems at minimum, and they're losing. How do we know this is not a trap?" "We don't," Rita admitted. "But sir, if it's real, this is first contact. We've been alone in the galaxy for 200 years. Now someone is reaching out and they need help. What does it say about us if we ignore them?" The debate that followed lasted 3 days. Rita watched it through remote feeds as politicians and military leaders argued. Some said humanity had enough problems without borrowing more. Others saw an opportunity to make allies. A few wanted to study the situation before committing. Commander Yuki Tanaka broke the deadlock during a heated session. She was young for her rank, aggressive, and believed humanity's isolation was its biggest weakness. "We are alone because no one knows we exist," Yuki said, her voice sharp. "This is our chance to change that. If we help these people, we become part of something larger. If we hide and let them die, we prove we're just another selfish species waiting for our turn to be victims." Admiral Brenner listened to all sides before making his decision. "We send the 3rd Expeditionary Fleet, 500 ships. If this is a trap, that's enough to fight our way out. If it's real, maybe it's enough to make a difference." Rita received her new orders within the hour. The Pioneer's Hope would join the fleet as a scout ship. She would be humanity's first voice to alien ears. The responsibility felt crushing. The fleet assembled at Frontier Station Outpost 9. Rita had never seen so many warships in one place. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers, support vessels, all of them built for combat in the dark spaces between stars. Humanity had no enemies, but they had learned long ago that peace required preparation. Lieutenant David Foster watched the assembly from the Marine barracks. He commanded a squad of 30 soldiers who trained constantly for battles that never came. Now they were checking equipment and running combat simulations for an enemy they knew nothing about. "Think they'll actually need us?" one of his Marines asked. David finished inspecting his rifle. The weapon used magnetically accelerated projectiles, ancient technology that worked in any environment. "If they asked for help, they need us. Just stay sharp and remember your training." The fleet departed 3 days later. Maximum sustainable acceleration pushed them faster than human ships had ever traveled for an extended period. The crushing force meant everyone spent most of their time in acceleration couches, bodies pressed down by artificial gravity. David used the time to study what little information they had. The Ravagers were described as insectoid bioships. They consumed organic matter and used it to breed more of themselves. They did not communicate. They just ate everything and moved on. It reminded David of locust swarms from Earth's history. Farmers had faced them for thousands of years. The solution was always the same. You killed them before they killed you. Simple, brutal, effective. 40 days into the journey, new information arrived. The Gentle Collective had sent detailed star charts and battle reports. Rita analyzed them with her senior officers. "They've lost 15 systems in 6 months, her tactical officer said. "Their defensive platforms are useless. Energy weapons don't work. The Ravager bioships have adaptive armor." "What about kinetic weapons?" Rita asked. Her officer looked confused. "Like missiles? The reports don't mention them using any." Rita pulled up human weapons specifications: railguns, mass drivers, simple weapons that threw metal very fast. Maybe they never needed them. Energy weapons are cleaner, more efficient in most situations. She smiled grimly. But sometimes you just need to hit something really hard with a rock. Yuki joined the analysis remotely. "We're going to look primitive to them. Our weapons are old. Our tactics are based on fighting other humans. We've never faced anything like this." "Good," Admiral Brenner said. "Let them underestimate us. The Ravagers, too. Surprise is its own weapon." 10 days from their destination, they received a live transmission. Ambassador Lyra appeared on screen, her wings spread wide, her expression mixing hope and fear. "Human vessels, this is Lyra. We detected your approach. The Galactic Council is gathering to meet you. Please be aware that many species are frightened by your rapid response. Some believe you may be dangerous." Rita kept her expression neutral. "Tell the Council we came to help. We'll prove our intentions through our actions." After the transmission ended, David spoke quietly to his squad. "They're scared of us, remember that. We're the aliens to them. Be professional, be respectful. But if it comes down to fighting, you do what you were trained to do." The fleet crossed into Gentle Collective space exactly 40 days after leaving human territory. Long-range sensors detected orbital battles in 3 nearby systems. The Ravagers were pushing hard, sensing weakness. Rita looked at the tactical display. They were really doing this. Humanity's first meeting with alien intelligence would happen during a war. Future historians would either call them heroes or fools. She was betting on heroes. "All ships maintain formation," Brenner ordered. "We're going to make one hell of a first impression." Soft Meadows was burning. From orbit, Rita could see the fires spreading across the planet's agricultural zones. Ravager bioships swarmed around 3 defensive platforms, tearing them apart with living weapons that pulsed with sickly green light. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Every sensor locked onto the battle. Every weapon charged. Rita opened all communication channels, hoping to reach someone before the shooting started. "This is Captain Rita Okonkwo of the Terran vessel Pioneer's Hope. We received your distress call. How can we help?" The response came immediately, audio only. The translation software struggling with panic. "Human ship, this is Defense Coordinator Mira. We are being overrun. 30 bioships are attacking. Our weapons cannot penetrate their armor. Please, if you have anything that can help, we are losing the orbital stations." Rita looked at Admiral Brenner's face on her secondary screen. He nodded once. She had her authorization. All ships engage the enemy. Weapons free. The fleet accelerated toward the battle at speeds that made the alien defenders gasp in alarm. Human ships moved like predators, closing distance while most galactic vessels preferred to fight at range. The first salvo proved why. Railguns spoke with thunder. Magnetic coils propelled solid metal slugs at percentages of light speed. The rounds hit Ravager bioships with devastating force. Armor that adapted to energy weapons meant nothing against raw kinetic impact. The first 3 bioships simply exploded, torn apart by projectiles designed to punch through reinforced steel. David watched from the marine bay of the assault carrier Fury. His squad was strapped into drop pods, waiting for orders. Through the external cameras, he saw the battle unfold with brutal efficiency. "They're running away," one of his Marines said in disbelief. It was true. The Ravager bioships were retreating, confused by enemies that actually hurt them. But 5 had already landed on the planet below. Ground forces were needed. "Foster, you have clearance for drop," came the command. 5 landing zones. Enemy forces dug into civilian areas. Rules of engagement are weapons-free, but watch for friendlies. David's pod launched with 39 others. The descent was violent, atmospheric entry turning the pod's exterior white-hot. Most species could not survive this kind of drop. Human bodies could handle it barely, with the help of cushioning gel and medical monitors. They hit the ground hard. Pods opened like flower petals. David's squad moved out in a pattern practiced 10,000 times. Low buildings surrounded them, structures made from some kind of grown material. Fires burned everywhere, and in the distance, screaming. The Ravagers were not like any enemy David had trained for. They stood 3 meters tall on 4 legs, with 2 arm-like appendages ending in razor claws. Their heads were mostly mouth. They moved fast, hunting in packs, dragging away anything that looked like food. David's squad opened fire. Their rifles made sharp cracking sounds, compressed gas accelerating metal rounds. The Ravager's armor, designed for energy weapons, offered little protection. Creatures fell, leaking fluid that smelled like rotting meat. "Contact right," someone shouted. More Ravagers appeared, drawn by the noise. David's squad fell into practiced movements. Suppressive fire kept the enemy's heads down, while 2 Marines flanked. Grenades finished the job. Efficient, brutal, human coordinator. Mira watched the battle feeds with mounting horror. The humans fought like nothing she had ever seen. They used explosive weapons in close quarters. They charged forward into enemy positions instead of retreating to safety. They seemed to ignore their own casualties, pushing forward with mechanical determination. And they fought at night. The sun had set an hour ago, and most species needed light to operate. The humans just activated devices mounted on their weapons and kept killing. They hunted the Ravagers through darkness, through smoke, through burning buildings. They were relentless. Lyra arrived at the command center as the last Ravager bioship fled the system. Human vessels pursued, firing until the enemy disappeared into faster-than-light travel. The orbital defense platforms were saved, barely functional but intact. "I need to speak to their commander," Lyra said. Her wings trembled with exhaustion and shock. "We must thank them." The communication link connected. A human face appeared, female, with dark skin and tired eyes. This was Captain Rita, the one who had answered their call. "Ambassador Lyra," Rita said, "we've secured the system. Our ground forces are eliminating remaining Ravager troops. Your people are safe." "You saved us," Lyra said simply. "We thought we would die today." Rita's expression softened slightly. "We came a long way to help. We're glad we made it in time." She paused. "I should warn you, the Galactic Council will want to meet us. Are you prepared for that?" Lyra thought about the human soldiers she had watched on the battle feeds. Creatures that ran toward danger instead of away from it. Beings that fought with such violence that even the Ravagers fled in terror. What would the Council think when they saw what Deathworld evolution created? "I will prepare them," Lyra said. "But Captain, I must ask, why did you help us? You do not know us. We cannot repay you for this." Rita was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was gentle. "Because you asked for help. Because people were dying. Because it was the right thing to do." She smiled, and it was genuine. "Besides, we're not alone in the galaxy anymore. We should probably make some friends." The transmission ended. Lyra turned to Coordinator Mira, who was still staring at casualty reports. Human losses, 23 dead, 47 injured. They had fought an enemy that outnumbered them and won decisively, but they had still bled. They died just like we do. Mira said softly. I thought Deathworld species would be invulnerable. No, Lyra said. They just fight anyway. David's squad extracted after 6 hours of combat. They had cleared 3 districts, eliminated 47 Ravagers, and rescued 200 civilians. His armor was scorched, his rifle's barrel was overheated, and he had a gash across his ribs that the medic sealed with spray bandage. Good work, he told his squad. Clean your weapons and get some rest. This is just the beginning. One of the younger Marines looked at him. Sir, did you see the way those civilians looked at us? They were terrified, David nodded. We look like predators to them. We move like predators. We kill like predators. They've never seen anything like us. He pulled off his helmet. But we're their predators now. We hunt the things that hunt them. They'll understand that eventually. The fleet regrouped in orbit. Damaged ships were repaired. Casualties were counted. And Rita prepared her report for Admiral Brenner, knowing that every word would be analyzed by governments back on Earth. First contact was successful, she wrote. We have established friendly relations with the Gentle Collective. Enemy forces retreated. However, our presence has caused significant cultural shock. Recommend proceeding with caution. These people are not warriors. They do not understand our kind of war. She sent the report and looked out at the planet below. Soft meadows would recover. The people would rebuild. And they would remember the day humans arrived and changed everything. In the distance, stars glittered. Somewhere out there, the Ravager swarm was regrouping. This was just one battle in a larger war. But humanity had announced its arrival to the galaxy in the only language that mattered. They had shown what Deathworld predators could do when someone threatened their new friends. The Gentle Collective had sought allies. What arrived was something far more dangerous and far more loyal. They had gained the protection of Earth's children, and the universe would learn to fear that bond. Dr. Patricia Osei had trained for years to handle medical emergencies in space. Decompression injuries, radiation exposure, combat trauma. She thought she had seen everything. Then they brought her the Gentle Collective refugees. The first patient was a winged folk child, maybe 6 years old in their development cycle. She had been caught in the fighting, suffering from burns and shock. Patricia started treatment immediately, following standard human protocols. Pain medication, antibiotics, oxygen to help with breathing. The child stopped breathing within minutes. Patricia worked frantically, trying to revive her. Nothing worked. The medical scanner showed catastrophic organ failure. The child died on the table while Patricia watched helplessly, not understanding what went wrong. It happened twice more before she realized the horrible truth. Human medicine was poison to most alien species. The oxygen levels in their ships were too high. The antibiotics destroyed beneficial organisms the aliens needed to survive. Even the pain medication attacked their nervous systems in ways humans could not detect. She called Rita immediately, her voice shaking. Captain, we cannot treat them. Everything we use to heal our people kills theirs. We're too different. Rita absorbed this information with visible pain. Can we adapt? Maybe given time. But right now, every human ship is a death trap for them. The air we breathe is corrosive to their lungs. The temperature we maintain is too hot. The radiation shielding we use blocks frequencies their bodies need. Patricia looked at her hand, still stained with alien blood. We tried to help. We killed them instead. The news spread through the fleet like wildfire. Humans isolated their medical facilities, sealed environmental systems, and watched helplessly as alien doctors worked to save their own wounded, using equipment that looked primitive by human standards. The incident reached the Galactic Council within hours. High Counselor Venn called an emergency session. Rita represented humanity, standing in a chamber designed for beings much smaller and frailer than her. The gravity was set to 1/3 Earth standard. Rita felt like she could jump to the ceiling. The air was thin and smelled wrong. You have poisoned our children, an angry delegate shouted. You came here claiming to help and you have brought death. Rita stood straight, forcing herself to stay calm. We made a terrible mistake. We did not understand how different our biologies are. We tried to help using our own medical knowledge. We were wrong. She looked around the chamber. But we did not come here to harm you. We came because you asked for help. We saved Soft Meadows. We drove away the Ravagers. And yes, we failed to save everyone. I am sorry for that. But we are still here and we still want to help. Archivist Pello shuffled forward, his ancient body moving slowly. Perhaps the council should understand exactly what humans are before we judge them too harshly. He activated a holographic display. Let me show you their homeworld. The image of Earth appeared beautiful and terrifying. Blue oceans covered most of the surface. Green continents held vegetation. White clouds swirled in complex patterns. It looked peaceful until Pello began highlighting details. This planet experiences temperature variations of over 100 degrees in some regions. It has massive storms that generate wind speeds exceeding 200 kilometers per hour. Earthquakes regularly destroy cities. Volcanoes erupt with explosive force. The native species include predators weighing several tons that hunt in packs. He paused. And this is considered a mild Class 12 Deathworld. The chamber was silent. Most species evolved on planets where life was easy. Stable climates. Gentle gravity. Abundant food. Earth was a nightmare by comparison. Humans evolved as persistence predators, Pello continued. They chased their prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. Their bodies are designed for endurance, not speed. They can survive injuries that would kill most species. They heal from wounds that should be fatal. Their immune systems fight off diseases constantly. They live in a state of controlled warfare with their own environment. Another hologram appeared, showing human history, wars, famines, plagues, disasters, and humans surviving all of it, adapting, growing stronger. They created weapons capable of destroying their own planet, Pello said. They nearly used them several times, but they stopped themselves. They learned to control their violent instincts. They turned their aggression outward toward challenges instead of each other. He looked at Rita. They are dangerous, but they are also capable of remarkable restraint. This does not excuse the deaths, the angry delegate said. No, Pello agreed, but it explains them. Humans think their medicine is gentle because it keeps them alive. They do not realize that what heals a Deathworld predator can kill anyone else. They are trying to help using the only methods they know. Lyra stood, her wings spreading wide. I have read their historical records. They have a concept called a hospital ship. Vessels dedicated entirely to healing, marked with symbols to show they carry no weapons. They send these ships into war zones to save anyone who is injured, enemy or friend. She looked at the council. They make mistakes because they are young, but their intentions are good. The debate raged for hours. In the end, practical concerns won. The Ravagers were still coming. The Gentle Collective was still dying. Humans were the only ones actually fighting. We accept your help, Fen said finally, but we must establish protocols. Human ships will maintain separate environmental systems. Medical treatment will be handled by our own doctors, and humans will be restricted to combat operations. Rita agreed immediately. Whatever you need. We're here to help, not to cause more harm. The meeting adjourned. Rita returned to her ship, exhausted and emotionally drained. Patricia was waiting for her. I killed 3 children today, the doctor said quietly. I did everything right by human standards. It was not enough. Rita put a hand on her shoulder. We'll learn. We'll adapt. We'll figure out how to exist together without killing each other accidentally. She smiled sadly. First contact was never going to be easy. New intelligence arrived that evening. Long-range sensors had detected the main Ravager swarm. It was massive, 10 times larger than any force previously encountered. And it was heading directly toward Tender Spring, the Gentle Collective's homeworld. Admiral Brenner called his senior officers together. We need reinforcements. I'm requesting the full Terran defense fleet. That's 500 ships, someone said. That's half our entire military. I know, Brenner said. But if we let the Gentle Collective fall, we lose our only friends in the galaxy. And we prove that Deathworld predators only care about themselves. He looked at each officer in turn. We came here to help, so we're going to help. Whatever it takes, the request went to Earth. The response came back within a day, approved the entire fleet would deploy. Humanity was committing everything to a war that was not theirs, for people they had just met, in a region of space they barely understood. Rita heard the news and felt something like pride. Humans were dangerous. They were toxic. They came from a world that tried to kill them every day. But they were also loyal. When someone asked for help, they gave everything they had. David gathered his Marines and told them the truth. The big fight is coming. The Ravagers are bringing their whole force. We're going to stand between them and innocent people. Some of us won't come back, but we're going anyway because that's what humans do. His squad accepted this without complaint. They had volunteered for this mission knowing the risks. They would fight because people needed protecting. Simple, clean, human. The Galactic Council watched human preparations with growing alarm. These Deathworld creatures were throwing themselves into battle with an enemy that terrified everyone else. They were either the bravest species in the galaxy or the most foolish. Archivist Palo thought they were something else entirely. They were what the galaxy needed. Beings capable of violence but choosing to direct it toward protection instead of conquest. Predators who hunted other predators. He just hoped they would survive long enough to prove it. Tender Spring was beautiful. 3 moons hung in the sky above oceans that sparkled with bioluminescent life. The continents were covered with carefully tended gardens that stretched to the horizons. 20 billion souls called this world home, and every one of them was about to see war come to their doorstep. The combined fleet assembled in high orbit. 500 human warships formed the core, their angular designs looking brutal compared to the elegant curves of galactic vessels. 2,000 Galactic Council defense platforms ringed the planet, bristling with energy weapons that had proven useless against the Ravagers. 300 civilian ships had been hastily converted to military use, their holds filled with improvised weapons and frightened volunteers. Admiral Brenner studied the tactical display with experienced eyes. They were outnumbered. The Ravager swarm showed 5,000 bioships inbound, their living hulls pulsing with hunger. In any conventional battle, the defenders would be slaughtered, but Brenner had not come here to fight a conventional battle. All human ships, implement pack formation Delta, he ordered. Council forces maintain defensive perimeter. When the enemy engages, concentrate fire on targets we designate. Do not pursue. Let them come to us. Rita listened from the Pioneer's hope. She had been given command of the communication network, coordinating between human and alien forces. The language barriers were still difficult. Tactical concepts that seemed obvious to humans made no sense to species that had never developed advanced warfare. They want us to stay in formation, a gentle collective captain complained over the open channel. But the Ravagers will surround us. We should spread out to avoid being trapped, Rita explained patiently for the 3rd time. Human tactics rely on concentration of force. We want them to surround us. That puts more enemies in our weapons range. The alien captain sounded doubtful but agreed. Trust had to start somewhere. The Ravager swarm arrived like a living storm. Their bioships moved in coordinated patterns, guided by some kind of hive intelligence. They had learned from previous encounters, spreading out to avoid concentrated fire, but they had not learned enough. All ships weapons free, Brenner ordered. Show them what Earth's children can do. The battle began with terrifying simplicity. Galactic forces fired their energy weapons, the beams splashing harmlessly against adaptive Ravager armor. The enemy pressed forward confidently, expecting easy prey. Then the human ships opened fire. Railguns launched solid projectiles at relativistic speeds. The bioship's armor adapted to heat and radiation, but it could not adapt to raw kinetic force. Ships exploded. Organic matter sprayed into space. The Ravagers recoiled, confused, and the humans charged. Every species in the galaxy preferred to fight at range. Safety meant distance. Survival meant running away. Humans did the opposite. They accelerated directly into the enemy formation, firing continuously, using their ships like spears to break the Ravager lines. Lyra watched from the orbital command center with mounting disbelief. They are going to ram the enemy. Why are they going to ram the enemy? Archivist Palo stood beside her, his old eyes reflecting the battle's chaos. Because on Earth, predators close with their prey. Distance means escape. Proximity means victory. They are doing what evolution taught them. David's assault carrier Fury punched through the Ravager formation, her armor scorched black. Drop pods launched continuously, each one carrying a squad of Marines toward disabled bioships. This was the part of human tactics that truly defied galactic understanding. They were boarding enemy vessels. David's pod punctured a bioship's hull. His squad poured out into an organic tunnel that pulsed with sickly light. The air was toxic, full of spores and bacteria designed to break down organic matter. Their sealed suits protected them barely. Move fast, stay together, David ordered. His squad advanced through the living ship, cutting down Ravagers with brutal efficiency. The enemy fought back with desperation, but humans had evolved for this kind of close combat. Pack tactics, overwhelming force applied at critical points. No mercy for threats. They reached the bioship's central ganglion, a mass of neural tissue that controlled the vessel. Explosive charges turned it into paste. The ship died, tumbling lifelessly through space. David's squad extracted, already targeting the next boarding action. Across the battlefield, human ships executed the same strategy. Board, kill, destroy, extract, repeat. It was wasteful by galactic standards. Humans lost ships to enemy fire during their reckless charges. Marines died when bioships exploded before they could escape. But the tactic worked. Ravager formations dissolved into chaos as their larger vessels died from within. Admiral Brenner watched casualty reports climb and felt each loss like a physical blow. But he did not stop. Could not stop. This was what he had brought his people here to do. Protect those who could not protect themselves, no matter the cost. "Sir, we have a problem," his tactical officer said. Something big just entered the system. The Hive Queen had arrived. Her flagship was 3 times larger than any previous Ravager vessel, a mountain of organic armor and weapons. She broadcast psychic commands that reorganized the swarm instantly. The Ravagers stopped their panicked retreat and attacked with renewed coordination. "All ships target that flagship," Brenner ordered. "Bring it down now." The combined fleet concentrated fire on the Queen's ship. Energy weapons and kinetic projectiles hammered its armor. The bioship absorbed damage that would have destroyed a dozen smaller vessels and kept coming. Its own weapons lashed out, destroying a human cruiser with a single blast of concentrated acid. Rita coordinated the attack, marking weak points, calling targeting priorities. But nothing seemed to work. The Queen's ship was too well protected, too powerful. "We need to board her," David said over the command channel. "Kill the Queen, the swarm loses coordination." "You'll never survive that," someone protested. "That ship is crawling with Ravagers." David's voice was calm. "Probably not. But we'll hurt them badly enough for someone else to finish the job. Get me close." Brenner hesitated only a moment. "Approved. Fury, provide boarding support. All other ships, keep that flagship busy." The assault carrier accelerated toward the Queen's vessel, taking damage from every direction. Half the ship's systems were offline by the time they reached boarding range. David's company, 300 Marines, launched in a single massive wave. They hit the flagship's hull like a meteor strike. Cutting charges breached the armor. Marines poured inside, fighting through organic corridors that seemed designed to crush intruders. Ravagers swarmed them from every direction. The fighting was savage, hand-to-hand combat in narrow spaces where advanced weapons meant nothing. David's squad fought their way deeper, leaving bodies behind. Human and Ravager alike. The air was thick with blood and worse things. His suit's medical systems pumped stimulants into his bloodstream, keeping him conscious despite injuries that should have dropped him. They found the Queen in a chamber at the ship's heart. She was enormous, her body bloated with eggs, her mind radiating psychic dominance. Ravager guards threw themselves at the humans with suicidal fury. David's squad fought through them. He planted explosive charges on the Queen's body himself, working while Ravager claws tore at his armor. When the last charge was set, he looked at his remaining Marines. Only 7 left from the original 30. "Run," he said simply. They ran. The charges detonated behind them, a series of explosions that tore through the Queen's chamber. Her psychic scream echoed through the swarm, a dying wail that stopped every Ravager simultaneously. The battle changed in an instant. Without the Queen's guidance, the bioships became confused, attacking each other as often as the defenders. The combined fleet pressed the advantage, destroying the disorganized enemy with methodical efficiency. David's squad reached an extraction point. Only 3 Marines made it out alive. David was not one of them. He died holding a corridor against Ravagers, buying time for his people to escape. His last words over the radio were simple. Mission accomplished. The Ravager swarm broke completely. Surviving bioships fled in random directions, no longer coordinated. The defense fleet pursued until they were certain the enemy would not regroup. Tender Spring was saved. Admiral Brenner received the casualty reports in silence. 200 ships lost, 40,000 human personnel dead or missing. The cost had been devastating, but 20 billion gentle collective citizens were still alive. The Ravager threat was broken, and humanity had proven what Deathworld species could do when properly motivated. Rita looked at the planet below, still green and beautiful, despite the battle fought in its sky. They had won, But the victory tasted like ashes when she thought about all the people who would never go home. Lyra found her later, wings drooping with exhaustion. "Your people saved us again. But you paid such a terrible price," Rita nodded slowly. "That's what we do. We fight so others don't have to. We die so others can live. It's not glorious. It's not clean. But it's necessary." "Why?" Lyra asked. "Why would you do this for strangers?" Rita thought about David and all the others who had died today. "Because someone has to. Because we can. Because it's right." She smiled sadly. "We're Deathworld predators. We know how to fight, how to kill, but we choose to use that strength to protect instead of conquer. That's what makes us human." 6 months after the Battle of Tender Spring, the galaxy looked different. Not in physical ways, but in understanding. Every species now knew about humans. The Deathworld predators who had arrived like a storm and changed everything. Rita stood in the Galactic Council chamber, wearing formal diplomatic attire that felt uncomfortable after months in ship uniforms. The ceremony was about to begin. Humanity's official induction into the Council as a full-member species. It should have been a moment of pure celebration. Instead, she kept thinking about the memorial garden on Earth, where 40,000 names were carved into black stone. Heroes who had died fighting for people they barely knew. The cost of their new place in the galaxy. High Counselor Venn approached her before the ceremony started. His tall frame was bent with age and exhaustion. Leading the council through a war had taken its toll. "Captain Okonkwo, I want you to know that we understand the sacrifice your people made. We will never forget it." Rita met his eyes. "We didn't come here for gratitude. We came because it was necessary. But I hope we can build something lasting from it. Not just an alliance, but real friendship." "That is what today represents," Venn said. "For the first time in 3,000 years, we are inducting a new species during wartime. Usually, we wait for centuries of peaceful contact. But you have proven yourselves in the most terrible way possible." The ceremony was simple by galactic standards. Rita represented humanity, standing in the center of the chamber while delegates from 200 species witnessed. The words were ancient, translated into every known language simultaneously. "We welcome humanity to the Galactic Council. May your strength protect the weak. May your wisdom guide the lost. May your courage inspire all who witness it." Rita spoke the response that had been carefully prepared by diplomats back on Earth. "We accept this honor and the responsibilities that come with it. We pledge to defend the innocent, to seek peace when possible, and to fight when necessary. We offer our friendship to all who want it, and our protection to any who need it." The chamber erupted in a sound that humans had learned to recognize as applause. Different species showed approval in different ways. Wings fluttered. Voices trilled. Lights flickered. All of it meant the same thing. "Welcome. You belong here now." After the ceremony, real work began. Military cooperation had evolved rapidly during the war. Now it needed to be formalized. Admiral Brenner met with defense coordinators from a dozen species, sharing human tactical doctrine and learning galactic approaches. The differences were profound. Most species preferred defensive strategies. Hold positions. Minimize casualties. Wait for the enemy to make mistakes. Humans preferred aggressive offense. Take initiative. Press advantages. Accept losses to achieve objectives. "Your way gets people killed," an armored Dominion general complained. "Your way gets civilizations destroyed," Brenner replied without heat. The Ravagers prove that. They don't care about defensive positions. They just overwhelm you with numbers. You need to attack their weaknesses before they can leverage their strengths. Slowly, reluctantly, galactic military doctrine began to change. Not completely. Most species could never fight the way humans did. Their evolution did not prepare them for it. But they could learn to coordinate with human forces. Use human aggression as a spear point while galactic forces provided support and logistics. Training programs started on dozens of worlds. Human Marines teaching alien soldiers how to clear buildings, how to move under fire, how to advance when every instinct screamed to retreat. It was slow work, frustrating, but necessary. Patricia had remained in galactic space working with alien doctors to bridge the medical gap. They had made progress. Separate treatment facilities, specialized medications, careful protocols to avoid the disasters of early contact. She could not save everyone, but she stopped accidentally killing people. That felt like victory. We're learning so much, she told Rita during a weekly call. Their medicine is incredibly advanced in areas we never explored. Genetic therapy, cellular regeneration. They can cure diseases we consider fatal. But they have no experience with trauma medicine. They've never needed it, because they never fought wars like we do, Rita said. What happens when you fall from a height or get hit by something? You just die. No reason to develop techniques to save you. Patricia nodded. Exactly. But now they're interested. Because humans survive things that should kill us and they want to understand how. We're teaching each other. It's beautiful in a way. Cultural exchange programs expanded rapidly. Human art and music fascinated galactic species. The idea of creating entertainment from conflict, of telling stories about war and struggle and triumph, was completely alien to them. Most species created art about harmony and beauty and peace. But they were drawn to human stories anyway. Tales of heroes facing impossible odds, songs about sacrifice and loyalty, films where the good guys won through courage and determination. It resonated with something deep in species that had spent months watching humans actually live those stories. Lyra had become humanity's most vocal advocate. She traveled between worlds speaking about her experiences, about watching humans fight and die to save her people, about learning that Deathworld predators could be gentle when they chose, fierce when they needed to be. I was terrified of them at first, she told an audience of young, gentle collective students. They looked dangerous. They moved like hunters. When they fought, it was brutal and efficient. But then I saw human medics risk their lives to save our wounded. I saw Marines share their food with refugee children. I watched Captain Okonkwo cry when she learned about casualties. She spread her wings wide. They are predators. But they are our predators. They hunt the things that hunt us. Not everyone was convinced. The armored Dominion remained suspicious. The Crystal Hierarchy kept their distance. Several smaller species requested that humans not visit their worlds. Fear of Deathworld species ran deep. But others embraced humanity eagerly. Trade agreements formed. Technology exchanges began. Some species even requested human security forces to protect their colonies. The galaxy was learning that humans could be valuable allies. Archivist Pelo spent his time studying human culture with academic fascination. He had collected thousands of hours of human entertainment broadcasts, historical records, and personal communications. What he found both worried and excited him. He requested a private meeting with Rita 6 months after the battle. They met in a garden on Harmony Station, one of the few places where environmental settings could be adjusted for both their comfort levels. I need to show you something, Pelo said, something the Council is not ready to hear yet. He activated a holographic display showing deep space sensor readings. We have been monitoring unusual activity in the galactic core, energy signatures we cannot identify, movement patterns that suggest something large, something that has remained dormant for millions of years. Rita felt cold despite the warm air. What are you saying? The Ravagers were fleeing, Pelo said quietly. That is why they were so desperate, so aggressive. They were running from something worse, and whatever it is, it's waking up. He looked at her with ancient, tired eyes. I have studied galactic history. Every 10 million years, something emerges from the core, something that threatens all life. Previous civilizations fought it and won, but barely. They left warnings, prophecies. He pulled up more data. They described the beings who would be needed to fight. Warriors from harsh worlds. Predators who refused to give up. Species who could endure terrible losses and keep fighting. You think they meant humans, Rita said slowly. I think evolution is not random, Pelo replied. I think Deathworlds exist to create Deathworld species. And I think those species exist for a reason. To protect everyone else when the real threats emerge. He dismissed the hologram. The Ravagers were just the beginning. You came to save the Gentle Collective, but you may have arrived just in time to save everyone. Rita sat with that information, feeling its weight. Humanity had barely survived first contact. They had lost thousands fighting the Ravagers. And now there was something worse coming. Something that required Deathworld predators to defeat. She thought about humanity's history. Every disaster survived. Every challenge overcome. Every time they should have gone extinct but didn't. Maybe Pelo was right. Maybe it was not luck or chance. Maybe Earth had been preparing them for something larger. If that's true, she said finally, we'll fight. That's what we do. But we're not going to do it alone this time. The galaxy needs to understand what's coming and prepare together. Pelo smiled. That is exactly what I hoped you would say. The meeting adjourned. Rita returned to her ship, already composing reports in her mind. Humanity had gained allies. They had proven themselves in combat. They had earned their place in the galactic community, but the real work was just beginning. Somewhere in the depths of space, ancient things stirred. The galaxy would need its Deathworld predators, and humanity would be ready, standing shield between the innocent and the dark, because that was what humans did. They fought when fighting was needed. They sacrificed when sacrifice was required. They refused to give up when everyone else had lost hope. They sought allies, and what arrived was the Deathworlders' fleet. Now the galaxy would learn what that truly meant. They sought allies, and what arrived was the Deathworlders' fleet. Now the galaxy would learn what that truly meant, and the universe would never be the same.